Okay, Chair, when you're ready.
Thank you, Debbie. Good morning and welcome to East Devon District Council's virtual LED monitoring forum on the 27th of April 2021. I'd like to welcome anyone watching the meeting via the live streaming. All participants are here today taking part remotely, and as it's being live streamed, the meeting is being recorded, so please bear this in mind throughout, and may I remind you to be careful with the language. May I also remind members the code of conduct applies throughout this meeting. We also reserve the right to remove and disconnect any participant who is disrupting the meeting by whatever means. As this meeting is dependent on an internet connection, in the event of a break in connection or a power cut, please bear with us as we try to reconnect after 15 minutes. If we are not able to reconnect, we will consider the meeting adjourned and reconvene at a later date. Please check the committee page on our website for details. Please make sure all phones are turned off or on silent, and make sure all microphones are muted when you're not speaking to avoid any background noise levels. Keep points short and do not repeat points that have already been made, and do not interrupt. If you wish to comment, please raise your electronic hand and wait to be called. We will now start the meeting by doing a roll call of committee members here present. Can you now please unmute your microphone? When you hear your name, please confirm by saying present. When you have confirmed you're present, please mute your microphone again.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, I'll start with Councillor Arnott, please.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Dent.
Present.
Councillor Hartnell. I don't see. Councillor Hawkins.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Hayward.
Present, thank you.
Councillor Johns. I don't see. Councillor Young.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Pook. I don't see. And Councillor Rowland, please.
Present, thanks, Debbie.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. Your call, you can continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Just a bit of housekeeping while I think of it. Item number 11 on the agenda has now been combined with agenda item 10. From speaking to LED yesterday, there's very much an overlap with the two items, so they're basically one and the same. To make people aware, sorry to drop that on you, Debbie. Your minutes. Agenda item 1, public speaking. There are no members of the public registered to speak. Agenda item 2, minutes of the previous meeting held on the 30th of March 2021. If there are any members with any comment on the minutes, please raise your electronic hand. If there are no issues, I assume that you're content that they are agreed. That's everyone content. Agenda item 3, apologies. Debbie, do we have any apologies?
I have one apology, Chair, from Councillor Johns.
Thank you. Agenda item 4, declarations of interest. This will be done by roll call. So over to you, Debbie.
Thank you, Chair. We'll start with Councillor Arnott, please.
Yes, paid up member of LED.
Thank you. Councillor Dent.
Yes, paid up member of LED and looking forward to the classes starting again.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hawkins.
None, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hayward, please.
Yes, I have one declaration, Part B, item 12. I am a resident of Cloakham Lawns, and I have been involved in several discussions which are related to that issue, so I should really declare that. Thank you. It's a personal interest, not a pecuniary one.
Thank you very much. Councillor Young, please.
My family are members of LED, but I'm not.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Rowland, finally.
None, thanks, Debbie.
Great. Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Agenda item 5, matters of urgency. There are no matters of urgency. Agenda item 6, confidential exempt items. There are 4 items, now 3, which officers recommend should be dealt with by this way, listed under item 10. Agenda item 7, LED facilities report, reopening report, April 2021. And that will be a report by LED.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, morning all, Jamie Bryant from LED. I think it's the first time I've spoke on this call, so thank you. Obviously the report sets out sort of where we've been. By way of the quick background, step 1, 29th of March, we opened our outdoor activities, predominantly group exercise and tennis, which were very well received. Unfortunately, at that point, the majority of our team did remain on furlough. The step 2 under the government roadmap was the 12th of April. The vast majority of our sites did reopen, albeit still with a good level of restriction. And it was health and fitness and swimming predominantly that we've reopened. With the exception of one site, Sidmouth, we didn't open. We had a technical issue. Really pleased to say that site did open yesterday, actually, the 26th. The team from East Devon and the LED team did a cracking job to do the work that needed to be done there, which wasn't straightforward. So they did well, but so that's now reopened. The reopening has gone really well. The team have, it's been well received by customers. We get regular third-party feedback, so it's managed externally from us, so it's true feedback. That's been received really well. A lot of the sessions selling out and actually having to put further sessions on and open, some sites longer than what we'd originally planned. So that was, it's been very popular for us. And likewise, the pavilion has been very well received, probably helped by the good weather on the seafront, selling its food and beverage. Obviously, there's no indoor activity for them at the minute. So all in all, the opening has gone well thus far. We're now actively preparing for step 3, subject to the confirmation from government that we can reopen our group exercise and indoor sports activity on the 17th of May. So there's a lot of comms happening with customers and general public around those activities that are coming next. That's probably sort of short of reading verbatim the report, which probably don't need to do, but hopefully that gives you an overview. It's gone well received by public, well received by the team, and hopefully councillors have had positive feedback, which we'd welcome if they have, and less positive. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Jamie. Sounds like a positive update. Has anybody got any comments or questions on that report, or happy to note? Councillor Rowland.
Thanks, Chair. Pleased to hear that the Sidmouth Pool did reopen yesterday on the scheduled date. I just wondered if the repair that was needed, I'm not sure what the financial implications were about who ended up paying for anything to do with that repair. And can you say exactly what the problem was?
The building management system is a very old, life expired system. It's been managed, collectively. I think it's fair to say we've managed it over a long period of time, and it was a part that had failed on a routine service. And I think, given the age of the system, it's not a straightforward, off-the-shelf piece to buy, and that was ultimately what caused the delay to us. It wasn't any lack of planning; it was a procurement issue with the part coming. I think it was a 6-week lead time on the part.
Charlie, did you want to come in?
Thanks, Chair. I wonder if it would be useful for members if Jamie could just give a very brief update on what the response has been like since reopening in terms of reactivating members, and obviously the sort of drop in membership as well. What kind of response? How's it sort of fared against your sort of initial predictions? That would be, I think, useful for members to know. Thank you, Chair. No,
thank you. Jamie.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Chair. Yeah, very positive. Obviously, we wrote to all of our previous members prior to, or that went into, we suspended during lockdown. We've seen a high percentage return, excepting there's still a number, particularly a certain demographic that are nervous about returning, and we are actively talking to those. But overall, it's been very positive, and we are seeing, literally, I think we're seeing hundreds return as opposed to tens over and above what we thought. So it's a very positive picture from a membership perspective, helped by the fact that we've frozen our membership prices as well, so they haven't gone up.
Thank you. John Golding, please.
Thanks, Chair. Jamie, could you say a little bit more about the plans for the Exmouth Pavilion and the Ocean Centre? That's obviously going to be more tricky to open with the current restrictions. What plans you got?
Sorry, Peter.
Yeah, that falls under my remit rather than Jamie's. The pavilion at the moment can't reopen its indoor activities. The indoor, I think as Jamie did say, the indoor food and beverage can start on the 17th of May. but we're not able to start shows until June. I think the first show booked is Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin, and he's on the 24th of June. That's sold out. So most of the shows now going forward are selling out at the Pavilion, but they won't restart till late June, and hopefully we'll have a good summer at the Pavilion. As far as Ocean goes, that's completely closed because none of its activities can reopen. They're all indoor activities. The only thing that Ocean is doing is running the bar on Queen Drive space, and that's been very busy. So we took quite a lot of money over the weekend because it was a sunny weekend, albeit a bit chilly. So the bar is open in Queen's Drive space, but Ocean itself won't reopen until the 17th of May, when everything should recommence. But obviously during this lockdown, which will effectively will have been for 4 months by the time Ocean opens, we're still paying rent and rates and all the other costs. So it's got a bit of catching up to do.
Thank you. And Simon Davey, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to come in terms of Councillor Rowland's question. So the cost of the swimming pool in terms of the park required for the management system, the cost of the works were about £9,000 and was a cost to East Devon District Council.
Thank you. I will pause a second just see if there's any hands quickly pop up. Otherwise, no, I'll take that. We're happy to note the report. Thank you, Jamie. On to agenda item 8, LED community engagement outreach programme, June-September, and that's a report from Peter. Peter, over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll report on behalf of my outreach team who are still furloughed. So we have Lottie Edwards, who's done a sterling job for outreach and community engagement for a long time now. Since a maternity leave, she's now job sharing with Jane Nichols, who I think some of you might know because she also used to work for East Devon District Council. So they're still furloughed. They start back next week, first week of May. So the £50,000, you'll be pleased to know that you agreed to subsidise them for at the last meeting has been reduced by a 1/12 already because we're not employing them this month. But when they do start back, they've got quite an agenda to get on with, and I've listed it on the report, agenda item 8. And I think it's helpful then for members to realise some of the work we do, which I would split into 2 elements really. One is sort of active physical activity and healthy walking programme and the walking netball and the walking football, all these sort of things we do, which have got a sort of physical activity background. They're going to restart, but not very quickly because a lot of those activities being community activities, we manage them, but they're run by volunteers. We have a large number of volunteers who work on our community programme all across East Devon, and these activities aren't in the leisure centres, they're out in the community as the name suggests. So a lot of our walk leaders are retired, waiting for their second jabs or not too keen on coming back yet. So the walking programme won't start probably until late May or June. But so that's one aspect to our outreach work, is a physical activity programme. And the other aspect is our, if you want to call, the health programme, where we work with a number of health professionals on providing roadmaps, as they say, and routes to physical exercise for people who are either recovering from dementia, well, not recovering from dementia, but we work with dementia groups, people recovering from heart attacks and from cardiac problems. We work with cancer group, FORCE. We do the GP referrals, which will start back soon when the GPs start referring to our gyms. And we have what called social prescribing now, where we've worked with the Royal Devon and Exeter Hospital to employ health coaches, and they're now in all of the main towns in East Devon. And we initiated that LED with the RD&E by joint funding the first post to prove that it worked about 3 or 4 years ago, and it worked so well we've now got 6. So our other element is working with health professionals and route maps to health for people recovering or people referred from GPs because of maybe obesity or other health issues. So you can see from the report things that they'll be focusing on for the first 3 months until September. And then we hope obviously to be back to full speed and all our volunteers back as well. In my conversation yesterday with the chairman, what I did mention is we're also quite active in Cranbrook, but Cranbrook now is sort of run mainly by Exeter City through Active Devon and through their own outreach team. So we support them, and there are quite a few activities gearing up in Cranbrook through, I think, the Move More group it's called. And what I'd like to do, if you're happy with this, is to provide you a quarterly report on our community work and our outreach report. So by the time we come back to the meeting in 3 months' time, hopefully we'll be actually all of these things will have started. So a lot for them to do, Lottie and Jane, when they start back next week.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, I really like the idea of a quarterly report. It just lets us keep an eye, see what's happening, what's going well, what's not. Open up to members. Councillor Young, please.
Thank you, Chair. Brilliant work, Peter. All this outreach. It's very difficult to put a price on it, though, isn't it? And what benefit it gives to the district. What PR and work do we have to do to get that known to the public? What we're actually doing?
Yeah, we've probably got thousands of people in this program, and some of them pay a little bit towards the cost, but a lot of it is, as I say, done by volunteers or free programs. So we've obviously got quite a network of participants who we keep in touch with mainly through social media and emails nowadays, and through our website. But what we are developing, and one of the positive outcomes from this meeting, is we've got a much better relationship now with your PR team. So we are sharing information and jointly promoting activities, which is a good step. So we'll be using your PR team as well to promote this. And what we've done in the past is we did put notices out with the council tax notice, but that's probably moved on now into more of a social media approach.
Thank you. Councillor Rowland, please.
I think, to be fair, I think Councillor Dent had his hand up before me, if he wants to go before me.
Yeah, happy to swap him over.
A lot fast. Okay, I'll go then. That's really interesting, Peter, that rate to be able to see the range of activities that the outreach programme covers. I was really interested in that. I was curious to know where the wild swimming is going to take place in Exmouth. That's one question. Second question is, it's not yours directly, of course, but when will the park run start again? So it'll be unsafe to go on the Exmouth seafront on Saturday mornings.
Yeah,
and thank you for the continuous messages I'm getting on the LED app, which come through pretty much daily.
Thank you, Councillor Dent. Yeah, they're both activities organised by LED, actually. We've organised the park run, which starts in front of the pavilion on Saturday mornings, runs down to Auckham Point and back, and it's one of the best attended park runs, I think, because it's got obviously one of the best views in the country. Due to the social distancing, that can't start, I don't think, until the 17th of May. And I think we're okay from the 17th of May, but I will check if that's not correct. But it's a larger group than 6 and a larger group than people are allowed to mix at the moment. So that's 17th of May. The wild swimming, I think that's on Exmouth Beach as well, and we're doing that in conjunction with East Devon. I don't know whether, John, that's your team or Charlie's team, but we're putting together a programme, Charlie's waving, where we'll be encouraging a lot of the people from our swimming database to take up wild swimming. A lot of people have been doing it through the lockdowns. There's even people doing it during the winter, I've noticed. So it's become quite a popular activity, and there's lots of health benefits now being identified from wild swimming. So we're working in partnership with Charlie and his team to start wild swimming organised wild swimming rather than people just doing it by themselves. So I think there'll be some supervision and some tips and some education to go with it, because we don't want people swimming by themselves, really, particularly inexperienced swimmers. I don't know whether Charlie you want to add anything about the wild swimming. I'm sure you'll be down there in your speedos.
I think not. That might put people off, Peter. Yeah, we set one up in Sidmouth. I can't remember, it was 12, 18 months through the Connecting Actively to Nature funding pot, which I think is through Active Devon or Sport England, or maybe it's sort of both. But what I do know from the Sidmouth pilot was that it was hugely popular and we had this big waiting list. So it's all about obviously having, as Peter said, sort of registered sort of coaches there to make sure you can handle the numbers, etc., and go through all the health and safety issues. But as Peter said, there's a huge demand for this. We've seen a real sort of growth. So so I think the Exmouth one is a natural sort of progression, and I'm sure it'll be as successful.
Thanks. Now on to Councillor Rowland, please.
Thanks, Chair. I'm pleased to hear about the park run, because the one on the Long Seafront has always been a tremendous success, and with a high number of people taking part. So it'd be good to see them back as well. My specific question was really about social prescribing. If I remember rightly, this was initially funded for 1 year on a pilot basis to see how successful it was. Is it still being funded in that way on a yearly rolling basis, or is it nil, a little bit more embedded than that now? I don't know if that's a fair question to you, Peter, or not.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that, because it was myself that nudged, I think I would say, the RD&E into coming on board with us, because we weren't the first to do it in the world or in the country, but it wasn't happening in East Devon. And so I said to Adele Jones, I think the director at the RD&E, that we should do it in East Devon. And I said, look, we'll fund half of the post for the first one to prove it works. And she met that, and we put them into Honiton, and I think they were shared with Honiton and Seaton to start with, and it was so successful that the RD&E have now appointed 5 more and taken over the employment of all 6 health coaches. So we're very proud that we sort of stimulated that appointment and that programme, but it is now run by the RD&E through the health centres, and I'm not sure how they fund it with their respective GPs, but it is now an RD&E and a NHS, if you like, funded programme. But we work very closely with the health coaches, because we're one of the recipients of people. So what happens, someone goes into a health centre and they may, as I say, be overweight, they may be smoking too much, they may have diabetes, they may have all sorts of health issues where exercise is something that they need to do. And the health coaches then do like the GPs do and refer them to various organisations. So they might refer them to us to start swimming, or to come and walk on a treadmill very slowly, or they might refer them to Weight Watchers, or they might refer them to the smoking cessation team. So there's different outlets that they'll refer people to, but the health coaches are there to provide health advice and to signpost people to the right people, and to take the pressure off the GPs, because otherwise these people would take up 10 minutes of a GP's time just to be told to go and join Weight Watchers or come and join LED. So it's working very well, and they're seeing thousands of people.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. Councillor Gazzard, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just for information, World Swimming is up and swimming in Exmouth. It happens every Sunday at 3 o'clock down by the lifeboat station, and it seems to be very popular. But I didn't know whether that was run through, as Peter was saying, through LED, or whether that was a separate group.
No, I think there are some separate groups who just meet as individuals. I know there's one at Budley, which I occasionally join when it's not too cold. So this is what's happened. There's lots of individual groups have sprung up, but they're doing it off their own back and without any real sort of guidance or support. So what we're intending is that this will be a guided and supported activity for people, particularly inexperienced swimmers, who I think we would worry about, particularly in Exmouth. The currents at Exmouth are pretty scary. If you go in at the wrong time, you can end up in France in about half an hour. So we do think some guidance is important.
Thank you. On that basis, I think we're happy to note that report. I'm stalling in case someone dials up. No, perfect. So on to agenda item 9, exclusion of press and public. that under Section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public, including the press, be excluded from the meeting as exempt information of the description set out in the agenda is likely to be disclosed, and on the balance of the public interest in discussing this item in private session Part B. Members, Debbie will now run a vote to confirm your agreement to move to a private session.
Okay, members who are on this forum, could you please use your green ticks if you're in agreement now for us to move to Part B? And Councillor Hayward, if you
on the telephone.
thank you. You beat me to it. Thank you very much, Councillor Hayward. Okay, Chair, that is confirmed. If you bear with me a second, I'll let you know when we've stopped the YouTube feed and when you can proceed.
Debbie?